So the composition of ground substance of the connective tissue is composition of ground substance of connective tissue. What is the composition of ground substance? Ground substance mainly contains the water, the mucopolysaccharides, and few amount of proteins also. Mucopolysaccharides like hyaluronic acid, like keratan sulfate, like dermatan sulfate, remember this mucopolysaccharide also called GAGs, glucosaminoGlycans, also called GAGs, glucosaminoGlycans, and together with protein, this complete part is called proteoglycans. This is called proteoglycans. That's fine. So the ground substance contains water along with carbohydrate like mucopolysaccharides and the proteins, together called proteoglycans. Mucopolysaccharide mainly includes the structure like hyaluronic acid, the keratan sulfate, the dermatan sulfate, and these are called glucosaminoGlycans. Along with protein, this is called proteoglycans. That's fine. Now, if you talk about the types of fibers that is present in connective tissue, so listen, what is that? Types of fibers of connective tissue. There are three different type of fibers present in connective tissue, and what is that? There are three different type of fibers in our body in connective tissue. One is called collagen fibers. Second is called elastin fibers. And third is called reticulin fibers. If you differentiate in between these fibers are wavy in appearance, wavy, thick, unbranched, and inelastic. Made up of collagen, made up of collagen protein, and we know that this collagen is the most abundant body protein, most abundant body protein. Roughly 25% of all body proteins consist of collagen only. Almost 25% of the body proteins is collagen fibers, collagen protein only. This is wavy in appearance, thick in structure, unbranched and inelastic. Elastin fibers are a kind of branch structure. These are branched and elastic fiber. And basically, this kind of fibers are made up of two kind of protein. Inner is called elastin protein, and the outer part is covered with a protein called fibrillin protein. Elastin and fibrillin together make this elastin fiber. If we talk about reticulin fibers, it is thin, branched collagen fibers, but it is also inelastic, and that is not in wavy in appearance. Straight fiber is there. It's thin, branched, made up of collagen protein only, but that is inelastic in nature. So these are the different type of fibers that makes our connective tissues. Along with that, fiber cells, the ground substance, connective tissues also contains the blood vessels, and as well as it also contains nerve supply, nervous system, nerve branches, nerve fibers are also there in connective tissues. So basic component is the cells, the ground substance, the fibers, the blood vessel, and the nerve fibers. That's fine. Now, what kind of tissues, what kind of connective tissues contains, or we can say, on the basis of distribution of these basic raw material of connective tissues can further classified as connective tissue proper. One is called supporting connective tissue, and third one is called fluid connective tissues. So let's see what is the classification of connective tissues. So let's start with the classification of connective tissue. Classification of connective tissue. So in very, if you talk about in detail part of that classification, basically connective tissues can be classified as embryonic connective tissue, and one is called mature connective tissue. Embryonic and mature. Embryonic CT or connective tissue can be grouped into mesenchyme and mucoid connective tissue, and mature CT can be classified into, that mesenchyme only differentiate into mature CT in adult, and that mature CT can be grouped into connective tissue proper the supporting connective tissue, and one is called fluid connective tissue. That's fine. So remember, mesenchyme is the most abundant embryonic connective tissue, and these mesenchyme only differentiate into mature connective tissue. Mucoid city, like remember one example, one is called Wharton's jelly. Wharton's jelly, that is present in umbilical cord of the fetus. Umbilical cord contains a mucoid jelly-like structure that contains abundant of fluid and relatively less fiber. This is called mucoid connective tissue. Example is Wharton's jelly, present in umbilical cord. Now, if we talk about type of connective tissue proper, this connective tissue proper can be grouped into loose connective tissue, and one is called dense connective tissue. Loose and dense connective tissue. Supporting CT can be classified as bones and cartilage, whereas fluid CT classified as blood and lymph. That's fine. And this loose CT can be further classified as areolar, the adipose, and the reticular connective tissue. That's fine. So this is the basic skeleton of the connective tissue. And now we have to see in brief what are the different type of connective tissues. Basically, we have to discuss about areolar, the adipose, the reticular, the density, about the bones, about the cartilage, about the blood, and about the lymph. That's fine. So we have to start with the areolar connective tissue, that is the part of loose connective tissues. Basically, what is loose and dense? Remember, loose and dense can be differentiated on the basis of the the amount of ground substance and fibers. If connective tissue contains more amount of ground substance and relatively less amount of fiber, that must be a part of loose CT. And in reverse, if it contains more amount of fiber and less amount of ground substance, it's the part of dense connective tissue. That's fine. Now let's start with areolar connective tissues.